Arnold. I'm a CTO in video technology, and I'm at Connected Media IP at the NAB Show 2019. I am joined by Dr. George Bokuchava, who is the CEO of Tulix Systems. Welcome.
Hello.
So, how have you found the NAB show so far?
Very interesting, very interesting. I was very pleased with new technologies and demonstrations of some of our partners that I've seen yesterday.
That's great. So can you tell me a bit about Tulix Systems? I know you're a streaming technology incubator, but can you give me a bit more detail on that?
Yeah, our company been in business for a long time, and we're focused on streaming of live events or live streaming. And we have several major products. One of them is live streaming CDN or content delivery network, which includes not only delivery but also encoding and players and everything A to Z. The second product is a playout, and the last one, the largest one, and the most important one is so-called OTT, end-to-end solution for over-the-top, which includes downlinking of the content or acquisition of the content up to the applications and everything in between.
Great. So I know you're not showcasing things specifically here, but can you take us through what you think your greatest achievements were in the last year?
Yeah, we had a huge steps or done in high technologies during last year. I'll just bring a couple of examples. One of them, we had integrated a very complicated and very advanced OTT system, which included signal acquisition of over the fiber from different cities like New York and Florida, Miami, and so on. Working with top-end partners like Harmonic, Elemental, and all these encoding companies, as well as CDNs like Level 3 CenturyLink. And we put all this stuff together along with our French partners, and it's a very successful project, including DRM, Verimatrix. So this is a high-end system which actually will be competing and is already competing with the biggest installations in US like Slink, Direct Now, YouTube TV, and so on. The other our achievements, we spend a lot of our intellectual resources, let's put it this way, for 4K HDR streaming, and we found that project very, very interesting, which also was very not only interesting, but we also had already a first live event with 4K HDR. I think it was February 23rd, and it went through very successful.
So speaking of 4K high dynamic range, you're doing that and 8K playout. Do you have any secret innovations you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, it sounds, the 4K HDR sounds like not a big deal because there are some platforms like Netflix which already has those video clips in 4K HDR, but when we are talking about 4K HDR and playout and all this stuff, we're talking about actual linear or live streaming, which much more complicated and much more complicated workflow, much more complicated everything, let's put it this way. Especially, we're talking about compatibility with multiple devices, major devices obviously being Apple and Android devices, as well as smart TVs like LGs, Sony's, and Samsung's. Actually, we were able to do a very interesting job in this area. Specifically, we're talking about live event.
Yes,
When we're talking about cameras going to control system or switch, going to the so-called contribution encoder, going to the cloud, and from the cloud we're getting the signal at our facility. Tulix has its own facility, like data centers located in Atlanta, Georgia, and not all of, but in some other places. So the whole this work process, we're talking about real time. We're talking about very, let's say, a task which doesn't let you to make any mistake. When you're working with video on demand, you have plenty of time to do post-production, fix your errors, fix your, all these problems. When you're talking about live event, it's all real time. You don't have any, room for mistakes, and everything has to be done perfectly. So this is what we're able to achieve during this first event. Actually, another one will be in April, the end of this month, and so on, moving forward. And this project was related to 4K HDR. Now, since we've been working on this project since August of last year, and since we were able to achieve success in this particular one, we decided to not stop, and we decided to continue working in this area, and we went further actually. Instead of not only 4K, but we achieved actually at 8K quality, the same HDR. And since there is no live event,
8K live.
8K, yeah, and 8K not only live, but since
Great.
we weren't able to find yet an event which will be streaming in 8K. So what we did, we had to do so-called playout. And playout, it's a simulated live, which means we're getting an origination done by playout, and then afterwards it's all live or simulated live. And again, we were able to tune this process. We were able to tune CDN. We're using our multi-CDN solution, which we introduced this year, where we by default using 3 different CDNs, and this allows us to get the best user experience and actually lower the cost to get best user experience. And obviously this is a result of our work which we've done during this year.
Great.
Thank you.
So you've been doing all of this. What do you think is going to happen in the next year?
That's, I think, what will happen next year. It will be continuation of what was happening last year, but there will be also one big change, if we could, or factor which will have a huge impact on the whole industry. And I'm talking specifically about 5G.
Yeah, I thought you might be.
So we are a very unique company because although we're doing streaming, but we have a broad experience of networking, starting like if you talk about networking, all the layers starting from the fiber going up to wireless and everything, as well as any other aspects of technology which relates to internet, anything data related. And based on our analysis, what we're finding out that it very well may be that with 5G will change the world. And 5G, when we talk about theoretical limit of 10 gigabits per second per device, where you can start using so-called eSIMs or electronic SIMs like an iPhone, and there are some other Google phones and some other phones allows you to do, where you can embed those SIMs into almost any device and have a connectivity with the high-speed interconnectivity with the internet, which also I think allows you not only to have a high-speed connectivity, but also you're talking about probably lower prices for the data. It will change the world. It will change the world, and we will see probably big impact on so-called MSOs or cable companies and telcos. That before the only way to get high-speed connectivity was fiber or DSL or something like that, or this type of connectivity. Right now you're talking about higher speed and lower prices. It very well may be that we'll see again huge differences in the way how people will start watching videos on all the devices, how video will be delivered, and the most important part, what type of video will be delivered. Like right now, no one can imagine on a Samsung refrigerator to get an instructional video which will real-time transfer to you and shown to you. Why? Because technology wasn't there. Now it's time to start having this type of technologies, and this is a perfect. It's not all the changes will be happening this year, but this year when it all will start.
Thank you so much for joining us at Connected Media IP. I can't wait to see what's happened in the next year for you.